Hey, welcome to Lab 19, question 1. Out of the following list, the people who are counted as unemployed is a person out of work and actively searching for work. Question 2, according to figure 30.1, adults not considered to be in the labor force are students, homemakers, retirees, and others. Question 3, if we count discouraged workers as unemployed when calculating the employment rate, it less than doubles the employment rate. Question 4, when the economy gets worse, so General Motors shuts down a factory for 4 months, laying off workers, this is cyclical unemployment. B, General Motors lays off 5,000 workers and replaces them with robots. The workers start looking for jobs outside the auto industry. This is structural unemployment. And C, about 10 workers per month at General Motors plant quit their jobs because they want to live in another town. They start searching for work in the new town. This is frictional unemployment.
For question 5, minimum wage is a price floor because it raises the labor cost from the market price to the minimum wage price. And this creates a surplus in the labor market due to the increase in unemployment. For question 6, the reason in European countries such as France, that unemployment protection laws tend to negatively affect the young, already unemployed, and minority workers is because firms will be less likely to hire people from these groups since they are required to give a 60-day notice and severance pay to workers that they want to fire. As a result, it would be very expensive to fire a worker, and many firms do not wish to risk hiring young, already unemployed, or minority workers who have little work experience. For question 7, as you can see by the graph, which shows recession shaded in the shaded areas, civilian unemployment tends to peak just after recession. For question 8, according to this graph, it shows that the natural rate of unemployment is highest in the decade between 1970 and 1980. For question 9, according to this graph here, the country with the lowest implicit tax return rate has a labor force participation of 85%, about 85%, that being Japan. And the country with the highest implicit tax rate, that being Belgium, has a labor force participation rate of about 35%. And so the difference in labor force participation rate would be 50%.
For question 10, it asks to name 3 labor market policy changes that would likely decrease the rate of structural unemployment. So one of them would be subsidies for the companies that train unemployed workers. This would cause these workers to find jobs elsewhere. For another policy would be subsidies for businesses and industries that are prone to these structural unemployment to prevent more job loss in these industries and allow some of these businesses to rehire the people lost due to decreasing profits. And then for a third policy, decreasing corporate taxes in an area, causing businesses to increase their profits and allowing them to rehire some of the lost jobs. For question 11, part A, it would rise if workers are laid off and start looking for work. For part B, it would fall if people without jobs who are looking for work find work. And then for part C, it would fall if people without jobs give up looking for work. For part D, it would rise if people without jobs and are not looking for work get encouraged to start looking for work. And then for part E, it would stay the same if people without jobs and are not looking for work take a job immediately. For question 12, the net job increase is 250,000 jobs, and then the total job destruction divided by the net job creation is 20. So there are 20 total jobs destroyed for every net job created. For question 13, if the minimum wage was increased by $2 an hour, we would expect more jobs to be lost in the fast food industry because a higher proportion of those jobs are going to be paying at minimum wage. So those companies will have to increase the wages of their workers up to that new minimum wage causing less profits and causing them to have to lay off workers, unlike in the government where they're probably already paying over $2 over minimum wage.
Question number 14, we are asked to find the unemployment rate and the labor force participation rate in 3 different cases. In the case of Part A, the unemployment rate is 9.09%, while the labor force participation rate is 55%. In Part B, the unemployment rate is 10%, while the labor force participation rate is 50%, while in Part C, the unemployment rate is 10% and the labor force participation rate is 41.25%. For question number 15, we are asked what the effect of reducing the requirements to get disability payments will have on the unemployment rate. And the effect that it would have is that it would reduce the unemployment rate as the number of people willing to continue looking for jobs, that is the active people that are actively looking for jobs in the economy, would reduce, causing the labor force to reduce, meaning that the unemployment rate would fall as both the So for question 16, for Part A, it says the rate is choppy because of due to the fact that the rate for the teenagers is not adjusted with the seasons. This means that over the winter time and in the summer, during the times when they have school, the teenagers are less likely to be working, as due to holidays or due to the fact that they have prior engagements, teenagers are less likely to be looking for work. But over the summer and times when they have more free time and when it's warm outside, teenagers are more likely to look for jobs. This causes the choppiness that can be seen in the graph. For Part B, the peak was 44.3% in July 2019, and the trough was 28.1% in April 2020. This means that the approximate change is a 16.2% change over the year. And then for Part 7, Part 17, U6 was the highest unemployment rate in the graph, while U1 was the lowest unemployment rate in the graph. And U4, U5, and U6 are all incorrect, as they all included discouraged workers, which is not usually included in the economic definition of unemployment. And when looking at any of the rates would not change the trend, as they all tend to trend together, whether upwards or downwards. So the specific rates being looked at will not matter as much as the fact that it is trending upwards or trending downwards, which will be the case in all of them. So this has been our lab. We appreciate you for listening. Thank you.